Hello, friends. This is very important. Know your value. Know what your value is in the market and know what your value brings to the market. I was the head of a project, and the project was a competition project. And now we had to go with our competitor to another country. And in this case, it was Ivory Coast. And we had to go there for the competition. We got to Ivory Coast. Everything was beautiful. And then the next morning, it was time for us to head out to the venue. And then we went on Yango. Well, some people know it as Uber, and in the span of our conversation, once I use Uber or Yango or taxi, just understand what I'm talking about. So we were trying to get an Uber and then not getting anyone. Everybody would reject us. And we asked in the hotel, what's happening? And they explained to us that the AFCON football competition was happening around the part of town that we were going to. And that's why people were rejecting us. Eventually, we got one, and this man arrived. And when I saw him, I was looking at him and wondering if he was educated, because I was not very comfortable with having someone that's not educated. And this is why. If I'm in a country where everyone speaks French and I cannot speak any word of French, I have to be speaking to someone that's educated in French, because that way we can throw up some French and some English and we try to understand ourselves. But if I'm dealing with someone that is not educated in French, that means he cannot understand anything I could ever say, and he could not understand so much about what he's also talking about or trying to tell me in French. And then we're going to have a chaos. And that was why I thought, you know what, this may not be good, but what do I have? What choice do I have? Let's go. And as we're going, I saw that he was turning and driving and moving without looking at the Google map. And I was asking him, you're not looking at the Google map? And he says, no, he's watching. But he does not ever watch until I asked him to watch. So I knew I was in trouble. Eventually, we ran into a serious traffic, and then we're there and they were calling me and saying, look, we are starting now. Where are you? Where are you? And then I said, we're in the traffic. We're trying to navigate our way through. We got out of the traffic eventually, and he drove into one street that was closed. And afterwards, he drove out again and he moved into another crescent and moved into another part again. And we're just driving good here and there. I knew I was in trouble. I was asking him, are you sure about where you're going? And we're on the road now for more than 1 hour, 30 minutes trying to get my destination. He turned into very sharply now into a street, and then the car screeched and stopped. Smoke was coming out. The gear was not moving properly. I knew that everything was crashed now. So I just said, you know what? Take some money. This is what I'm paying you for this trip, and I'm going to get someone else. And I came down from the taxi with my competitor, and then we tried to stop the first taxi and the second taxi, and no one was stopping. We spoke to people, and some would say, I cannot speak English. Another one was saying, I'm not used to this area. I don't know this area. Someone else was saying I'm in a hurry and all of that. But I met one young man who could speak English, and I was excited about that. And I said, yes, please, can you help me? Take me to this destination. And he said, yes, well, he does not live around there, but he knows the area fairly well. He helped me to get a taxi. We got into the taxi. He coordinated with the taxi driver to take me to my destination. In 2 minutes, we had gotten to my destination. I was so excited. I was happy about it. So I decided to pay the driver what the 2 minutes ride that he delivered to me. And I took out a note from my wallet and I gave to the young man behind. In the morning, I had changed $50. And in Ivory Coast, $50 will give you 3 of the highest denomination. So 3 pieces. Where I live in Sierra Leone, when you change $50 for our highest denomination, it's going to give you at least 55 pieces. So you have a lot of money to spend, or to break it into. But here is only 3. So I just gave him 1 of those. All right. And once I gave it to him, I thanked them. And then I called the venue to say, I'm here now. And, we can kick off. I got down from the taxi and I thanked the driver again. And I turned to thank this young man again. And he had disappeared. And I was looking and I saw him running off. And I was wondering why he was running off. And then the driver saw me wondering and the driver was laughing. Anyway, we went for the event. It went on nicely. At the end of the day, I spoke to someone. And I said, this happened to me. Quite scary, but interesting that at the end of the day, I gave somebody some money and he was running away with the money. And then the young man explained to me and said, this was what happened. It's likely the person thought you were giving him that amount of money and thinking you're going to get some change back for it. And then he was running away with the money. I said, no, my intention was to give him all of the money. Now, at this point, we're looking at $18 to $20. My intention was to give you that because he did not know the value he brought to me. That's why he thought I was going to give him pittance and he needs to run away with it. All right? You have to know your value. The young man did not know that he was valuable to me because he could speak English. He knew the area fairly well and was willing to support me in coordinating with the driver to take me to my destination. That was what his value was. What his value is in the market is in the zone of the navigation industry and the transportation and the tourism industry and all of those. The value that he brought to me was the fact that he could know my problem, understand it, and number two, he could find a way to solve it and get me to my destination. But very importantly, he saved me a lot, because if you are on a project and you have spent so much money and time and energy to move yourself from where you are to where you're supposed to be, and you're not able to achieve the purpose for which you had come into that city or into that country, it's a failure. You have lost so much. He saved me that day, but he did not understand that he saved me, that the worth and the value he brought to me was so much. Know your value. When you know your value, what you see happening to you is that you become very confident and you become very sure of who you are and what you bring to the table. You know what that value will bring to you. That's also important. And lastly, when you know your value, you understand what your value can bring to the marketplace, and you are going to be more purpose driven. And that is very important. Know your value. Thank you very much, friends.